Are there? Yeah.
Here. Good morning. This is the House Appropriations Committee.
Maybe this is.
It is
limited.
Friday morning. We're live. It's what is it, February 20th, 2026. It is 11 a.m. or so. And we are here to do a bit of a debrief on the two public hearings that we had. James has a lovely drafty draft of what the asks are so far. Also, when we're done with this, I want to talk with you all about just let you know about some bills coming and ask you who else we need to hear from in the next week or so. So, James, take it away.
For the record, James Duffy, Joint Fiscal Office. In front of you all, there is a draft table of the public hearing budget requests above the governor's recommended budget for FY27 that we've received. I will note first and foremost that this is preliminary. We received some of these requests just last night, and there's some more digging to do into potential overlap with the GovRec, with some of the other requests. And you'll also note that there are some yellow highlighted cells here. Those are generally referring to requests that implicate global commitment and for which JFO needs to do some more verification to see that the amount is accurate for the work that's being requested, as well as the federal fund, general fund split. So that being said, this afternoon, I will be back at my desk verifying these, stripping out some of the duplicates, digging into some of the individual items that might have overlaps, and providing you all with an updated copy. But I know the committee wanted to have an overview of the requests this morning to inform your debrief conversation, highlight any items of particular interest, follow up from JFO, as well as any questions you have for JFO on particular items from this table.
Marty,
Are you also going to be looking at all the letters that we have received?
Yes, so this will be a component of the master spreadsheet that gets put together, which will contain policy committee requests, as well as requests that you all have heard during budget testimony that are above.
this was the last year's that we put together. We had 5 pages, but I wanted us to get a preliminary idea of what people are thinking about out there. So I thought it would be a little less this year because I thought people were getting the message, but it's for BAA, but.
And I'll note that, so the version that you have in front of you has a significantly higher total than the version that I walked out of our February 12th public hearing with. We got last night in particular, I think there's about 80,000 or 80 million rather dollars in housing requests. There's 41 million for the Housing Opportunities Program, 35 million for general assistance, 11 million for shelter expansion that I have to do some more digging into. But those are the most serious drivers of the increased cost.
PHCD.
Yes, that as well. So
$40
some more homework to do for JFO there, just to see what potential overlap there is between GovRec and some of those individual requests. But that's driving a lot of the jump in the total from the February 12th and the February 19th hearings.
Some of these must have come from the, did the First United Methodist Church actually?
A number of these provided written testimony, but did not provide oral testimony.
Okay.
And then that's one of them.
Okay, thank you.
Do you want us to pop up with comments?
Sure.
Working on enterprise additional funding, it says $4 million, which was the total, but that's a split ask. It's 500 TR base, 3.5 for 1 ton. The base is at $1 million.
Right, that's on the first page.
Sorry, that's a page jump.
Yeah, that's okay.
How much for they? 500 to base. 3.5 1.
Yeah, Rep. Stevens, I believe that, and you may know, I believe that was a request from the Vermont Rural Development Council. They did have 2 components of the request. My interpretation had been that they had a $4 million requested increase for working lands enterprise and a separate request for $500,000 for the rural and community technical assistance program.
That's not been my understanding.
I will double back to the written testimony.
Okay. The request that it seemed to be coming from A lot of the different advocates is for,
Yeah.
is for 500,000 per page and it's 2.51.
And I think the Rural Community Technical Assistance is a different program.
It is, yes, a different program. They had been submitted as part of the same testimony, but are different programs and different
We had
asks.
some people that had like, there's 4 things I'm going to ask for, right? Wayne,
So, just stepping back a second, I mean, was there a limit to how many people could sign up?
the limit was 40 each time. And sometimes, multiple, and then anybody who wants to can submit written testimony
So it's first come, first served.
on those sign-ups.
And who was doing that?
Well, they all sent it to Autumn. We sent it out to, there's a process and I just give it to our staff and a miracle occurs and everybody knows about it.
My concern is that, we got so many of these that are redundant. Same requests over and over again,
Yep.
becoming redundant. My concern was whether or not there were other people out there that
Didn't get to.
didn't get there because first come, first served. We
Right.
have all these redundant people coming in.
And we've been through this, it's a public hearing, we are not, we're not gonna turn people away, we have tried to make exceptions where we needed to. Autumn has had a list when there's been people, and we have adjusted when we've had to. And if we had some people who were brand new and we have 8 of something else, I would not hesitate to go and talk to like the lead advocate and say, really, we don't need to hear it 8 times. We need 2 slots for some people who haven't had a chance.
So we didn't have a lot of extra people that didn't get.
There were like
Okay,
3 that reached out to me that were on the waiting list. And I also received like 100 things of public comments. So if you go on our committee page, there's like a lot of public.
It's a lot of written testimony.
written.
yes.
Like letters.
Yeah.
Right, so you need to look at that as well.
Those two.
It sounds like James.
This table, it does include written testimony that we did not hear in person. Yeah, that's included in this table. So
Yesterday,
at last night's hearing, there were about 30 pieces of written testimony that were posted, submitted online, but that didn't have people speak to it in person.
They all-
And that is reflected in this
and
table.
we should all be looking at that written testimony. Just don't print it out, just breeze through it and see what you see.
So I don't know what this based on.
The one that starts.
Apologies, yeah, it's not
The
page.
1,000,005 for reach up is page.
That's correct.
Okay, so on page 2, for instance, James, this is a question for you. You have a total of 202, almost $203 million, but will the next version of this draft have marks on it that are in the governor's recommended already? I see things like the Housing Opportunities Program, $41 million additional. I don't know if that's additional or if that's in the recommends, general assistance. I don't know what's in the recommends.
Yeah, so
And so I just, and, as long
That's
as.
part of what James will be doing is.
yeah, about the first page and a half of items here are from the first public hearing we had a week ago, and those we had more time to look at, dig into, and are fairly confident that those are all above the governor's recommended budget, are not duplicated in the FY27 GovRec. I would say the bottom, 3/4 of the second page are requests that we only just heard about last night. And several of those require some more digging to make sure, the $40 million VHCB request above GovRec, for example, the one that you highlighted, Rep. Stevens, like those definitely require some more looking into to see what might be in the GovRec and what's.
Yeah, because the comment that was correctly made in one of the hearings, I think it was early last night, was, make sure we support the statutory give. That's the governor's recommend of whatever the $37 million is.
Yeah.
And I know that VHCB might have been asking for a total of, but if they were asking for money when they came in, it was not an additional $40 million. There was the 5 or 6 million. There were just different numbers being talked.
Right. And that was one in particular too, where the written testimony hadn't been provided yet. So it needs some more homework. I will highlight though, there are a number of testimonies that were received that are requesting funding for something that is in the GovRec, but they're requesting extra money above level funding. So for example, the Vermont 211 sustained level funding item, about 1/3 of the way through the first page. Yeah, so it's page 1 with the green row on top. Apologies, this isn't numbered, but the Vermont 211 sustain level funding item, that's $332,000 that's proposed for removal from their budget in FY27 GovRec. They have other funds in the budget, but they're requesting that they have that funding restored.
20%.
Yeah.
That's what it would take.
Yeah, that's fine. I just,
Yeah.
but it's also like what, and again, these are just things bouncing off my eyes, so for instance, the Human Rights Commission has a governor's rec of X, and then they propose to us that in order to do their work, they need X.
Right, that will
plus
come.
Y. And so that.
All this is from the 2 public hearings. I wanted to get something in front of us in very draft form. This is so far from final, but at least we have a sense of where people are coming from. And it's going to get refined. We will eventually have the spreadsheet like we had last year that'll have all the other requests from the sort of agencies that are not, that's, I don't know how you call it, Human Rights Commission, et cetera. Everybody, the treasurer, all those, they'll come in. We'll also have the committee recommendations from the committee letters, which started from. This is just the beginning.
And I just want
Yeah.
to make sure we spend that time. I mean, I know we will, I just want to say it out loud, that we spend the time sifting through to make sure
Right.
that, because I mean, first impressions are really important. So we all reacted to 202 as opposed to, I mean, it's like.
A lot of it's already covered.
Or those, yeah, it's like a newspaper that put the
Right.
headline and then
Right.
5 days later, the correction. And we only remember the headline. So.
Right, well, we'll probably be at 200, even if it isn't this 200, because we haven't gotten the committee letters yet. We haven't added in the Attorney General,
The legislative.
attorneys, the legislative, on and on and on. So
Yeah, okay, I just want
We'll
to.
have a spreadsheet with.
we're gonna do this.
Governor's
James
recommend-
has what we did last year. And then we will also have, I don't know if I showed you this, we had a separate smaller spreadsheet that which was the governor's sort of wish list.
Mhm.
So you all, as you're going through, you can also, the budget itself, because there isn't a lot in there, but you can think about in your worlds, what does the governor have in there? Are there programs that they're keeping that maybe we don't think they should keep? Just because they're in there doesn't mean they need to stay there. So you should be looking at that in your portfolios. We have the list of the one-times, which are basically his wish list. There's not a lot there. And we also have the carry forwards and reversions. Mostly the carry forwards are the things that we can revert, that we want to be looking at as well. So those are kind of the pockets that we're looking at to find money.
And also, as we get closer to crossover and know what bills are making their way to you all with appropriation requests, that will be a component of that information.
Right. And, we're going to start taking up some bills next week. Some of them we can vote on because it's cancellation of something and there was money, but there isn't, and we can make a decision. Others, I just want you to us all to start hearing them, but we won't vote because I don't want us to be going through the budget and then suddenly having to switch our brain and say, oh my gosh, what's this 36-page bill? So as much as we can get done before crossover to at least hear, then we can remind ourselves and vote when we have to vote closer to when our budget has to be out.
Yeah, some investigation in the meantime.
Right, we can investigate and you can just have it in your brain that we talked about, whatever it was, so.
Once we get it all arrayed into a spreadsheet, so we can see it all,
Yeah.
all the requests, and be a lot
Yes,
easier to.
right. And so what I want to do is what we did last year is send you all home with this stuff and say, if you want, what do you want to do? What are you going to take from to do that? And then what are your priorities? So we'll do that same exercise across the whole budget. Yeah, John.
I was kind of thinking about this, thought this last night here, we have all these like categories of classes here.
Yes.
Kind of like some same areas of just in terms of my brain trying to sort through it that way here. So
Yeah.
I might have a request in a particular category here,
Right.
whatever it might be.
Yeah. So we can talk about kind of arranging it the way government function is. So we can have human services related things together and other things related together.
I mean, if we want to provide something here, but we can't
Yeah.
provide total, but
Right.
it's not about things.
Yeah. So we can sort things. Like I said, this is just to get it on paper so we can have a place to start.
I agree, represent, I think organizing it by budget section or for something where it's not exactly clear, like have all the things that are clearly human services lumped together on the spreadsheets.
Right.
Think you can centralize it.
Right.
Right.
Food.
Food.
I mean, and I think that you're probably going to be indicating this, but like, so some people have said restore a cut that was made, right? And that'll be important for us to know if it's a restoration of a cut that appears in the budget. And I know
Versus
I'm getting a lot of
brand new
those.
Yeah, I mean,
From my
certainly we're
committees.
hearing, yeah, we're hearing from people that they don't want certain things cut. They weren't necessarily at the public hearing. But they may be in the testimony, and our committees may say, because they're the ones also looking into what the cuts were. So we'll hear from our committees about that.
I agree. I think it's important context too, because if you all see there's a request for a restored $20,000 in proposed cuts, you probably want to know, well, what's the total proposed appropriations? So we know what percentage we're talking about, right? So that context will also be included in the final version, right? Like what's proposed for retention, what's proposed for cutting, and then what's the actual proposed full appropriation in the Gov Act for context.
Right. Right. So we have a long way to go, and it's gonna happen pretty fast, but this is a great first start.
Yeah, I know crossover or not town meeting week is coming up. So Madam Chair, what I was thinking was, we'll compare notes early next week,
Yeah.
make sure that over the weekend, we haven't missed anything.
Right.
We've got all covered, and then you all will have a draft ready for you well before you go home. Not a draft, but final version ready for you well before you go home for town meeting week.
Okay, yeah, so you can start thinking about it and probing into stuff then. Dave, you look like you have a question.
Well, you can read me so well. The more I'm just trying to anticipate ahead and how to manage
Yeah,
workloads and things like that. Thinking I was gonna ask Nolan for my areas of my portfolio,
Yeah.
which I'll tell him, if he could just put the downs, all the governor's downs on
Yeah.
one and the governor's ups on another. And then align it to, this is in B 306,
yeah,
that kind, I'm trying to build a floor report, realizing things will likely change,
Yeah.
could change.
Yeah.
And then I'm also thinking, when will we know what revenues we have to work with? And would that be after crossover?
yeah. I'm hoping that,
Crossovers.
so the speaker and the chair of Ways and Means and I are going to be talking about this next week. To have a sense of what.
Yeah, so the week
Because
before
there's a
vac-
lot that's depending upon, that there's a huge amount that the governor's proposing to carry forward for education spending. And so, that's one of the wild cards, right?
It's all one time, correct?
That's all one time.
Which is a.
Right, and so there are lots of questions around how does that best get deployed to accomplish what we want to accomplish? So that's to come.
So that will likely be sometime during the week before town meeting week.
Which is next week.
Yeah. Then there's town meeting week, and then when we get back, are we in
We have
markup
2
mode?
weeks, we'll have 2 weeks to finish up the budget. So we'll get into
Yeah.
serious markdown. We'll have more of the spreadsheets, markup.
Whichever way it
It's $12.99. No, there's no pennies anymore. Anyway, whatever. Jeez, it's Friday. We did, by the way, pass the budget adjustment in the committee of conference, so yay, that's been accomplished.
What did you decide, just out of curiosity?
Pardon me?
What did you compromise on, or what was the final?
We updated language on Section 8 housing. We updated some dates on the disabilities payment reform. We sort of split the difference on what goes to the Vermont Center for Independent Living for Meals on Wheels versus the Vermonters Feeding Vermonters. So I think we ended up taking 15 from Vermonters Feeding Vermonters and putting it to the Meals on Wheels section. Anyway, it was pretty minor. And in fact, some of you heard me say this. We didn't do a strike all, so there's not a whole brand new whole budget adjustment report. we are acceding, is the word that we have to use, to the Senate with 5 instances or 6 instances of amendment. So the actual part that what we'll be going over makes my floor report a lot easier and everybody to find what we're doing. It's very short.
On the conversation about on the Meals on Wheels, that when you were in conference, somebody came up to me and tried to explain the difference between just, there's Meals on Wheels statewide,
Right.
but VCIL, who we put the 30,000, has a separate Meals on Wheels program.
Yeah.
Which just made it all confusing.
Right, which is also statewide, and it's for individuals with disabilities who are under the age of 60. And so wouldn't otherwise qualify for the standard Meals on Wheels program. And they are the statewide organization. So the money isn't going to wherever they're located, it's to be spread out among the state. So it's a very specific targeted group of people.
And that's where the money, the extra 15,000 is going.
Yes.
For clarification.
Yes.
Did the Senate have it? Did the Senate say that VCIL came in to ask for more from them?
They went and checked and there's a waiting list and they, so that they actually could have used more. They came in asking for, as Tiff eloquently said, that sometimes these smallest organizations don't ask for what they're so worried that they don't ask for enough of what they need.
Yeah. Well, they don't take into account compromise, and
Yeah,
my history is like, well, we got some money last year, I want somebody else to get it.
right,
As if
right,
it
which
was
is
theirs to
lovely.
give away.
I know, right, which is very sweet, but
Well, it is, but it's also,
Yeah.
it's also, I think it was Representative, Johnson or Toll, when they were chair of this committee, who told one organization that I did a lot of work with, like, if you don't ask,
right,
it's a no.
right.
You know, and just to start, it was pre-COVID, so it had
Yeah.
to be,
Yeah,
Representative Johnson, but they were like, you know, they had to get, not aggressive, but it is the thing where they were constantly saying, we got ours last year, so we want,
right,
it's like, that's just not the way it
Right.
seems
See,
to
that's
be here.
some of what bothers me is because obviously we have some very well organized advocates for
Right.
certain portions of this. And my feeling is that our elderly and some of those
Right.
people that are home don't have that same organization, and I think I think we should be doing more for them.
yeah, yeah. Well, and that's one of the requests in the big bill. So this smaller group is getting more. They're getting 55,000 because the Senate pulled down 10,000 that we had left on the bottom line. And then the other 30, instead of taking 40,000 from Vermonters Speaking Vermonters, they're taking 15,000. So 55,000 is going to the Vermont Center for Independent Living for those folks from Meals on Wheels. And then 385,000 is being added to the Vermonters Speaking Vermonters. And I think that was a reasonable place to end up. So that was basically it. I mean, there was some other language. I mean, that was like 3 instances of amendment to fix those things, you know, but that was what we accomplished. Yeah, Lynn?
Yeah, building on what Wayne just talked about, I got a request from a member. He has a senior citizen group in the islands who have essentially, they bring things from home. But they don't need, like the large, it's like a rummage sale type environment. And they all have this little place in town that they stock it. And it's called Granny's Closet or something like that. Anyway,
Yeah.
and then when it's sold, people go and buy stuff.
Yeah.
And then when they get it, they donate the money to really older people.
Yeah.
Do this together. It's it's like that big. But the point is they got kicked out of their place where they had this little closet. And now they're looking to try to get another place to go and they need like $20,000.
Yeah.
Whatever. And he said, do you do that? And I said, well, sort of.
You can always ask. You can always ask.
But, that's the kind of, they don't make any money. It's all volunteer.
Right.
They're all 75 or 80 years old. They just have to burn out the houses and sell
Yeah.
it. And sounds like it's a really good idea.
Yeah. It's so hard because, you know,
Give it all
there
away.
are so many good things. And yes, there are major holes in what we are doing and we need to pay attention to that. And we aren't gonna have the money that we had last year.
Right.
So it's gonna be made that much harder. I will be combing through and I have, and you all need to be too, those that carry forward. And then wherever else, I know Dave knows secret pockets and human services. Last year you wanted to take a couple million from excess receipts and suddenly we had Adam saying we can find you the couple million. So we'll keep looking and keep thinking about, we'll go through that exercise again. I mean, for me, there are gonna be a few things that are a lot easier to say no to. And then there are gonna be those ones that are gonna be really hard to say no to and what we wanna do. So we'll have a chance to do that. But this is just getting us started. But do read the testimony. You can start to read the committee letters. I think we've gotten,
Are they on here?
they're on our website. If you go under other bills,
Other
FY
documents.
27. Yes.
We only have two. Sorry.
It's not like they're on like per day, like this is like, yes, this is like today. Thank you.
Okay.
Check Thursday.
So, but they should be posted. I'm just gonna check our committee page here. So we go to other documents,
Thursday.
FY 27 budget.
I have to go back per day.
We don't have committee letters on there information from standing committees. There we go.
That's, you just read that?
So what we have is energy and digital infrastructure and healthcare. And we're having healthcare, human services, housing. Something else coming in next week? Are those the three committees?
Yeah, those are.
And so if we see other letters and we want people to come in, we can do that. But if some of them don't have that much, so you can just be the liaison with the committee if it's yours. But we want to have those three come in because those are the big ones. Which then leads me to, we've heard a lot of stuff from a lot of people so far. Are there people or organizations you feel like we still need to hear from that we should be setting up for next week at this point? Do you think of anybody?
Well,
Dave?
I'm up to speed on it. I don't know if the whole committee, but there's a whole conversation around primary care. I haven't read the House Health letter. I'll do that. But if some of the elements are not in that, half-hour presentation from the medical people might set a good backdrop.
Okay.
What I'm trying to show is here's what we did for primary care last year and have been doing for some time.
Right.
Here's what's been taken out. And here's some ideas on how to restore. I don't know if I just save that until after town meeting week.
Well, keep an eye on that. The other thing though is that it's looking at the rural health transformation grant.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of primary care related stuff in there. So we're going to finally fund, I believe that's in there, the residency program at Maple Run that we tried to do last year in the budget, remember? And we couldn't get the waiver.
Yep.
So when you say primary care, it kind of depends on what you mean. And yeah, so I would check that also.
Yep. I'll work on that.
And that's not we don't get to vote on that. That's just in.
I think Nolan is working on a rural
Yes.
health transformation,
Right.
kind of side by side, looking at what may be in the budget,
Right.
versus what's in rural health transformation. And that I think would be important, Dave, for
Great. Yep.
our combined budgets, yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I thought, early in the week or last week, I thought you were saying, well, maybe we should have him back. I don't remember what it was about. Just run your memory back. Was there anything that you thought that somebody was gonna come in for that hasn't, or maybe they already came in? But I remember you saying, maybe we should have you come back. And
I don't remember who that was, but you are reminding me, we do have the federal delegation folks coming in on Tuesday. So they will talk about all of their congressionally directed spending, which will help inform, so maybe some of the things people want are going to be covered in that.
Yeah.
Not quite what you were talking about, Lynn, but you could check with Dan. Senator Sanders has a $500,000 grant to the senior centers to do special things. So I don't know if there's if that's a place you could get some.
Yeah.
So we'll keep an eye on that.
So I'm just wondering what we're talking about here is like a little petty cash fund. For
For whom? Us?
Like, yeah, for us to have, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For these.
First, we have to figure out what we think we have available to
Available.
contribute,
Yes,
because
yeah.
this, we could be back to, and Marty can speak to this more eloquently, and I, that we're fighting over $10,000.
Yes,
right.
Yeah.
The little tiny things that, you know, just individual folks had in mind. My community needs 15,000 for something and your.
Yes, yes, yes. I remember doing it for big things, we were fighting over $10,000.
Well, yeah, but I think we need to, in my view, those little things need to fit within a much bigger pot. There's a
Right.
way of getting that money
The
out.
senior centers is a really good idea for that.
Yeah, so
Well,
let's hear
but
what,
that particular grant would be.
right, right, that might be a match for
To
your
steer
folks.
them.
Yes, to get them somewhere they can go.
Exactly. That's why I want the delegation, because it looked like they had a lot of stuff that was related to a lot of the things that we're dealing with in the budget. So if it's covered there, let's not do it here, do it here too.
Devil's in the details, find out what strings or what. mechanisms.
right.
At least.
Well,
with the
there's
reimbursement.
12 million for housing to VHCB, I think. And then somebody looked at it, or somebody went and talked and said that they would have to be, they'd have to apply and be like $1 million each year, or 2 million, or I can't remember. Anyway,
I'm not even, yes, I'm not actually remembering.
you're not remembering
what you were
that.
talking about.
Somebody talked to me about this. Anyway, there's money for things that we like to do, and if that's gonna be helpful.
Yeah, a lot of community development stuff. They said all of
Right,
those.
and there's-
professionals, right.
And there may be more primary, I don't remember what else, I mean, I haven't actually
I
seen.
think
the
maybe as
full
we
list.
categorize some of this stuff, we'll see some of those little things that fit into
Get in.
Right,
place,
Directly to go there.
directed to go someplace, or we
Right,
want some
exactly.
for them.
so I think that's kind of where we are. If you think of other people that we ought to get back in.
I want to bring in Jill Olson. So if we get to a point where we're looking at, she might be giving us more detail. When you had that meeting across the hall with her.
Right,
had that-
for the fiscal committee, yeah,
That might be,
right,
she has
well,
more information that may be helpful for us to understand
Yes.
as a committee.
right. Right, Jules. And when Nolan does that, which I think it's his weekend homework assignment, Dave, is to do that spreadsheet for the rural health transformation grant, see how it aligns with stuff being cut, and because VSAC's involved, I mean, there's a whole lot of different programs that are involved. And one of the things that happened, for example, and we did see a request for SASH, which is support and services at home. We had budgeted one-time money last year because it was covered by the old Accountable Care Organization, the ACO, which went away in that December. And so the governor put in money for this year to cover us before we got to this AHEAD program, which was going to take care of it, except now that doesn't seem to be happening, which is what we were worried about. And we may be losing some significant services that we have to pay attention to. So I'm hoping that, I don't know whether that's Alyssa or Teresa, but Healthcare Human Services will be talking about that, I think. That'd be healthcare. I don't know.
Behind program.
The behind program.
Yeah,
Yeah, SASH though, is SASH
Yeah. Yes.
healthcare?
well, yes, it's in their letter.
So it may be in their letter, yeah. So those are the kinds of things that we kind of have to do these crosswalks to figure out what's being done. So lots to think about, lots to dig into. And next week, we will not be fully having testimony because next week is also a really good week for you all to do your digging and meet with people that you need to meet with. And John, we'll talk about your portfolio. We officially, as a committee, said congratulations. Congratulations to our. We know you'll do a great job.
My best.
We wouldn't have elected you, other.
Yeah. But we will take your portfolio away from you since you have higher ed. And I have joked with some people, if you want to become a Vermont State College's trustee, you need to come to this committee and have the higher ed portfolio. Twice in 2 bienniums, I've had to change somebody's portfolio.
My understanding, Mark kept everything but the state colleges as his portfolio, so.
And he and I swapped, I was vice chair and I swapped some stuff with him, but I'm not doing that this year, so. But I have an idea and we'll just chat before we go head out today, so I can tell you what I'm thinking. All right, so I think that's everything, unless anybody has anything else to say. Safe travels home, enjoy the snow once you're safely home. Work to do, assignments, and more to come next week. So we'll meet Tuesday. When are we starting on Tuesday? You know yet? 9 or 9:30?
One of the two.
The House is meeting at 10 on Tuesday.
Yeah, but we may be meeting before then. Assume 9 unless you hear otherwise. Okay, but not Monday. Enjoy your Monday. We will not, the next 2 Mondays we will be here. Assume that. I mean, the yeah. All right. James, thank you. We kept you sitting there over, off a different.
Sit over there or sit over here.
Right. Thank you for starting
Thank you
this.
so much, Dave.